Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Welcome. Aloha and farewell. It's Mason and Remy, and we're back now for the What Did We Learn on This Journey episode of the No Frequency podcast. No, basically, to bring you up to date in the timeline of where we've been on our Eras tour, we're in the post Mason and Remy era now. Actually, we've gone through the whole story. You can go back and you can watch all the episodes if you want to catch from Bloomington Normal to St. Louis to Chicago to St. Louis again to after we were both fired. What? That's where we're at now. In this episode, our learnings, teachable takeaways, different things that we learned throughout the journey. And we've been getting a lot of questions too. Like you have folks who are still going to broadcasting schools and still wondering, is this a job that I should get into? We'll talk about that. Some of the radio's biggest misconceptions, some of the things that people may not understand that are happening as well. As more some of those sad news from the cuts and those kind of things that comes up. You get more and more people that we've talked to in our post radio life are popping up to tell us about their post radio life and at least their involuntary expulsion into post radio life. Relatable.
Yeah.
Just feels like sometimes this machine is a juicer, squeezes and squeezes and squeezes till there just ain't no juice left. Stealing the souls and creativity of good people, and then just going, there'll be another one who will do it for cheaper. And sadly, they're right, but we'll tell you how to best maximize your position in this episode, and a bunch of extra stuff too. We have so much content that we have created over our 11 years together that we couldn't squeeze it into 7 episodes. We need more, and we're not done. Even though the title, man, I saw the end of Mason, and I went, oh shit, it's over. Like it got me. You got me with that. So, well done. How are you, Remy? How you feeling?
I'm doing well. I think it's been a fun ride, and I think with these podcasts, I've said this 4 million times, but it's been very cathartic, very therapeutic to go through all this. But to kind of zoom out on a career of what we did from 2010 to 2022 ish, and then me from 2022 to 2024. It's kind of crazy to see just us, and then success, and then lots and lots of hands got involved, and then dilution, and then burnout, and then unraveling, essentially, is kind of how that went. And I want to touch on just real quick. So something that's happened over the past couple weeks is there's been a couple more cuts at various companies in the radio industry. And so I've actually had a couple of those talents reach out to me after I've commented like, hey, there is life after radio. You're good. Like it's going to be okay. And they've reached out to talk. And I'm not going to say who that is, but it's just interesting because one of the people that I talked to had also had a very similar situation. I didn't tell you about this, but I'm going to tell you now. Where when we were in Chicago, we met with a very high profile talent coach, worked with Ryan Seacrest. I personally loved this guy a lot. Like I thought he knew personality radio. I think he was a great purveyor of storytelling, but he gave us this advice to be ourselves, to tell stories, to not worry about the song count. And then in the other ear, we have our program director and SVPPPPPPs telling us that we did need to worry about the song count, and we couldn't talk as long as we wanted. And we had to talk about $1,000 contests 16 times an hour and promote all the country festivals and all the things. This exact same thing is still happening with that group of people. Talent coach comes in, says, do the thing. Okay, you're doing the thing. Program director says, don't do the thing. They're shooting themselves in the foot. Like still that same thing is happening. It just blew my mind when I heard that. And that's when I always go back to this. Just say what you feel, say what you're feeling, because there's probably someone that's going through the same thing. And I think our story is very, very similar to a lot of stories in radio. And I would imagine that the people that are listening are, some listeners. I would say probably 30 to 40% are listeners, but then the rest are industry people, wanting to know if they'll be mentioned, or trying to commiserate, like trying to go, am I psycho right now? Like, are these things that I'm feeling right now that I've bottled up for years just me? And it's not. It's us too. It's a lot of people. I think it's a very familiar story to a lot of people. So, I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, no, it is. And it's first off sad that this is so relatable. I also had those people who have reached out, not only since this has started, but even before that, because I was out a couple years before you, who were like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I'm like, "Not that." And you see why as we share our story. It's interesting. I go back to, and maybe you remember this, when we were first on the air in St. Louis. That cornbread guy was on the air across the street at the other station. Remember just listening to him before we went on the air and going, this guy's just saying whatever. Like
Mhm.
he's just willy-nilly out there going, you know what? Them salespeople. Like he's talking about like inner working stuff. And we're like, how dare you like go and air the dirty laundry like that? But that's because he had the power. He had the ability and the control to do that because he's following his heart. He's doing what felt right to him. He's following
Mhm.
that consultant. But the consultant is just that. He's a consultant. Your boss is right there behind him. The guy who signs your check is right there behind him, telling him, no, 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 no. Do 10% of that. Do 90% of what we tell you. There's no way you can do 10% following your heart. Like, that's not how that works. You follow your heart or you don't. You know what I mean? I'm going to follow my heart for the first 2 minutes of this break, and then I'm going to do my corporate business for the second half. Like, that's a way to just turn whatever authentic thing you made into an inauthentic sales pitch, and it negates the whole point of being yourself. So I can understand why some of these guys just go, yep, time to do our normal whatever bit again. We did it too. Do you check the box because you hope, because they're telling you this is what they want, and then you don't get the ratings, and then you get fired?
Yep. It's weird.
What a cycle.
It's so weird. It's just a and I
It's all
don't
right.
know what that is. I don't know if that's like, if that's the corporate, like, we're we're 3 degrees of separation between my office desk and traveling constantly and drinking and whining and dining with all of the SVPs of the company and the actual broadcaster. I don't know if there's like that separation, just as it's giving them an inaccurate portrayal of what this should look like. Um, but it just seems so obvious. Like, if you want people to follow and become a part of the cult following of a personality, you need to let the personality be the personality. Like, the music isn't necessarily the star of the show, but it seems to me like maybe there's something going on behind the scenes here that we're not seeing, with the music being the star of the show. Maybe there's like trips and and
Oh,
uh gifts
oh,
and maybe some money that's
uh,
happening.
oh.
I'm just speculating. I don't have any proof, but maybe that's why they want the music to be the star of the show.
The business of radio is radio companies now working with, this is actually something we didn't have written down, but it's a really good point to make right now. The high level business of radio is big companies, and you see it and hear it if you listen. It's the whatever company premiere of some garbage artist you've never heard of every hour, because if you hear it enough, you're gonna sing it. Remember that song when you're like, "Oh, I can't get that song out of my head. I hate it." They don't care. Like, it doesn't matter. You're going to sing it. And if you sing it, then great. You remember it. Maybe you'll go to the artist. Maybe you'll buy some of that local beer money or sponsor some of that local ticket sales. That's all that matters at this point. There's no heart in it anymore. And it's because guys like us who have the heart get expelled when we want to go, hey, here's our heart. We show people our heart. And if we are too successful, like, and this is where I get to in the end of our thing, everything we wanted to do would have been really successful, but there was no budget to have like 3 successful shows on the air, and they might cut into each other. So if now we are up against the biggest show that's next door and we start taking away their ratings, well, the guy who's in charge of that station isn't happy. Oh, that also happens to be our boss too. But also, right, so I'm not saying that I was limited or that we were limited, but when you hear the talent consultant who talks with big successful radio shows and says, who cares about the songs? Who cares about the song count? And you know in the back of your head that your program director has worked out a deal to get tickets or meet and greets for the station to give away. If we can hit 70, 80, 90 spins in a week, it's up above 100 on some stations. And that's how they do that every hour. It's the premiere. Oh my gosh, the chart shows this many spins. Oh my gosh, it's because the company jammed it down your throat so much that it made that chart position that then goes, look, guys, I can advertise that this song is at number 20 and rising. Is it though? Is it?
Yeah.
It's not. It is because you made it. It's
about as real as the New York like bestsellers list, where if you've got an author who is backed, that company will purchase 25,000, 30,000 books of their own to make it go to the number one spot in the New York Times bestseller list. And I know that they probably say that it doesn't happen, but it does. And
they'll tell you.
Stuff.
They'll tell you lies.
The same people that are playing the fiddles above in corporate radio are using that. Like, we can make you a star. We can make you a star. But that buying power, it's diminishing. It's going away quickly because I don't know, my kids probably won't be seeking out new artists on radio, and they probably won't be going to the radio app that serves new music. They'll probably be going to a Spotify, or a Pandora, or just YouTube.
Yeah. So it really is. But that's kind of, for me, that's what I'm seeing is the new racket in radio, is these high level companies connecting with an artist, and they'll go, hey, it's the big radio premiere of what's the one that I heard just the other day. It's like Motley Crue. Like, you guys are like 100 years old, and now and you've got a new song that's I'm sorry if you're a big Motley Crue fan, that's great. I'm really happy for you, but they're just playing it's the premiere. Hey, it's Vince Neil from Motley Crue. Come see me perform in a wheelchair at the whatever fest. It's unfortunate that these guys are still going, but this is how they get airplay. And so now they'll go, Motley Crue top 20 at rock radio. Is it?
Yeah.
It's not. It is because the company made it, and not because people actually like the song. And not, which is why you don't see Chris Stapleton at meet and greets or Taylor Swift doing street level shit, because she doesn't need to. Sorry, radio is street level shit anymore. It is, man. Yeah. When there's big stuff happening all around you, and we want to talk about the big things in the world. They don't. They're more focused on the little shows that they have that can generate a little bit of advertising dollars from a sponsor on a title sponsorship, sell the title sponsorship, get the beer people involved, have the beer money, get a cut of the beer money, get a cut of the ticket sales, get a cut of the merch. Now we're broadcasting from there. We get money from the broadcast. It's business. Like, I understand it's business, but also it just feels like bad business anymore. When you're selling yourselves as entertainment, but you're actually just manufacturing. I hear the words industry plant a lot lately, and it's like, oh man, I can see how if you're an artist in Nashville and you're like, who how many are there? Randy Houser, who writes 100 songs and then goes, hey, wait, I can do that. You know what I mean? Like, these Hardy, Florida Georgia Line. These guys are all the people who penned the songs and then was like, wait, why am I giving Jason Aldean and Carrie Underwood this money when I can go up there in tight pants and do that?
Yep. I think a good example of what you talked about with Chris Stapleton and Taylor Swift, most recently for me in the last concert season, was Tyler Childers, who sold out the amphitheater. And I remember Casey telling me that I wasn't at the actual show. I don't know what I had conflict that night, but she
Good
was
for you, whatever it was.
Yeah, she was at the show, and she was like, people were coming by and saying, why are you here? You don't even play him on the radio.
Yep.
And it just goes to show you that, like, artists can be successful and they don't need a radio station to back them. That's what happens when they become part of the machine, when they sign the record deal that puts them into the machine. And I feel bad for that. I remember, and Jelly Roll had talked about this on a podcast, and he was saying some of these deals that these artists take are insane.
Yep.
We're talking 95% goes to the music label,
Yeah.
5% goes to the artist, but they have to repay whatever loan they took out with the music label so that they can pay that back eventually. But they can't pay that back with the 95% that's going to the company. They have to pay that back through merch.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much is all. So these deals are awful for the artists, and they're getting screwed. And I Macklemore is one that is independent, but most recently I go back to Alexandra Kay, who's from freaking 20 miles or 15 miles from my house and has bootstrapped the entire thing. In fact, I think she did go in, and she was a part of a music label and was like, I don't want this. Like, I don't want everybody's leftover songs. I want to do this on my own. And she's doing it. And she's doing it. And doesn't need that radio backing to become a star. And I guarantee in the next couple of years, she opened for Tim McGraw last year, I think. Like, that's crazy.
You can make it happen on your own. By the way, it's what we're doing right now. And it's what a lot of people are doing right now, which is taking control of their own destiny and writing their own story. You used to think you needed, and this is one of the learnings I'll get to here in a minute, folks. Don't rely on any company to protect you or fight for you, because you're a number. You're an employee, and that's what they do, and that's what they want. You fight for you. You're your best asset. Preview of some of the life lessons that we have learned. A couple of notes back there, but when you talked about coming to do shows and stuff, I don't think we ever talked about how Garth Brooks blackballed the station from coming to his show because they did not play his new song, which sounded like an old song. There's so many points here that fly through my head, and I'm sorry, but like when you talk about Tyler Childers, if we played Tyler Childers, like he's a totally different leaning side than the rest of country music, so it's almost off-putting to the rest of your audience. When you're playing Jason Aldean and all these other artists, then you drop a Tyler Childers in there, and it's like, wait, this is the other side of the aisle. And now so playing a Tyler Childers is a risk for a radio station because he's so political, right? Like he's got such a standing there, but he doesn't need radio because he's got that. He did that himself. It's the same kind of thing I'm talking about right here. We're doing it ourselves. She's doing it herself, Alexandra, right? Doing it herself. That's where we need to be. Record labels provide outdated resources at this point. You want to package CDs? No, right? No one. What do you need? Distribution? iTunes. No, you don't. We are in a new era now. I don't need you to put together promotional posters. I have a camera phone and can Photoshop me to look cool. You know what I mean? We're all in that world now. So all that stuff that record labels offered is gone. Now it's about deals between venues, right? And they're locking people out of venues between your Live Nations and your Ticketmasters. And if you're an up and coming artist, you're not getting on any of those stages unless you have a deal, right? Unless you're put together with one of these bigger. I mean, we're seeing Taylor Swift just sued them, right? Like for Monopoly stuff. Didn't that happen? It's a small piece of the puzzle, folks. And even Taylor Swift is another one who doesn't need the record label. Like she tells the record label what to do. Thin line there between you getting an artist advance, which is what you had mentioned. I had a friend who was a radio guy who then had an album, and he told me all about it one time when I went to visit him. And he told me this: you get, the points system. Everybody has points on a record. The producers, the writers, the mixers, and then yours are like way down here, and that's how you pay back that artist advance. They'll give you $50,000. Go buy yourself some nice stuff and look good for the video shoot. You're going to give us that money back after you're successful. Becoming an artist is just a loan. It's just a loan.
Yeah.
At this point. And if you are confident enough in your art, then keep doing it. And that's been another lesson for me, is no matter what people tell you and no matter what people think, if you keep doing the thing you love, you will eventually be the best ever at it. And you can keep doing it. and people will recognize it if it is good and it stands out. You don't need a record label or a radio station or a company. All you need is you.
Yeah. To go back to the Garth Brooks thing for a second, essentially what happened was Garth Brooks had put out a bunch of new music, and I think he was thinking that it was going to be received like 1993 Garth was
No
received,
way.
because his ego is larger than the planet Earth. We've discussed. I don't know if it was like episode 3. We discussed our first encounter with Business Garth, but the second encounter with Business Garth was at the most recent radio station we were at, and his song was terrible. Like, it just wasn't good. When people go to a Garth Brooks show, they don't want to hear new stuff. They want to go back to the early 90s when he was just writing hit after hit after hit. That's what they care about. So when you put other stuff, new stuff from Garth Brooks on the air, it doesn't do well. People tune out. So we didn't play it. And he was coming to St. Louis, and he essentially, his people said, okay, well, we're not going to give you free tickets to give away on the air. We're not going to invite you to the pre-party, the VIP, whatever. You get, I mean, if you want to be there, you can, but there's,
You're outside.
We can't stop you. You're outside. Those kinds of things. The other station, however, was like, oh yeah, we'll play it when they're playing it, because they got a deal at a way higher level, way higher level. So they're playing it.
Yeah.
So in turn, they got all the promo tickets. They were the only station in town giving away Garth Brooks tickets. They got invited exclusively to the sound check. So it was just them and their listeners. And
something else to note here too, because this is when Danny was still with us, right? Danny was at the station, and he was there for 20, 30 years, something like that. My man was there forever. He had held down that frequency and kept it in great standing with Nashville for years. The place for Garth Brooks in St. Louis was this station. Decades. Back in his main run in the 90s and for years afterwards, the only place you heard, except for at a special Throwback Thursday, you'd hear one on another station, but it was novelty at that point. But for this station that we were working at, they were the station that helped Garth Brooks make a name for himself in St. Louis. And that is gone. 20, 30 years of support gone because we wouldn't play one song in 2020 or whatever it was, 2019. No loyalty in this, no kind of what's the word? Backbone in this, right? In this place where you supported an artist on their come up, and now here years later, you're just going to turn your back on us. Okay, that's very telling of both Garth and the industry. Garth is another one who did it himself. Wouldn't let anybody have his masters, and paid a bit of a price for it, because having your stuff unavailable means very limited income and means your farewell tour is 10 years long. My man, I think he's still out there, right? Like, I think he's.
I just want to look at my sweatshirt and my sweatpants. I am just an everyday average human being, and I'm coming to a stadium near you.
That's right. I'm coming. Come watch me. Pay $300 to come watch me. A guy just like you.
Yeah.
Dressed like you don't
Vegas. He's been in Vegas, I think, for the past couple years.
Put that man in the sphere. Let's go.
Phones in the sleeve.
Oh, is he doing that?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh wow.
You can't record, and that's kind of becoming
more normal
thing. Like when we went to the Matt Rife show recently, they were very much like, "Hey, if we see your phone out, we're going to ask you to leave." So don't do that.
Well,
I guess it kind of does ruin it for people that do post it online or whatever. And if you're going to the show, so there is a little bit of the surprise there. It's not, it's not being spoiled. So I understand from that perspective, but also with the people monetize everything these days. So that's very possible. You could just click monetize on a Matt Rife skit that you whatever. So I understand.
And you can make $1 million before the algorithm catches it. Happens all the time. Happened right after the Deadpool and Wolverine movie. Like, I swear I got home from that movie and then I watched the whole thing in clips on YouTube. But it's a new world of content, and that's some of the stuff that we're figuring out. I don't mind that so much as long as it's beforehand. I think we went and saw a comedian too, in Champagne recently, who did the same thing. They put it in a little bag or whatever, and you can't take it out till afterwards. And I don't mind that. You're right. You're paying for a show, and if anybody else is going to pay for that show, they should not be able to find that show online. It's basic piracy 101, right? Like,
Yeah.
it seems normal. But there are lines and limits, and you want your stuff accessible and you want it out there. And Garth Brooks was one of those guys who said, "I'll tell you when and where you will get my stuff." And it had an effect. You know what I mean? It had an impact on him. I'm sure he's fine. Everything's going well. That's a double-edged sword of being the guy who is, I'm going to make these rules, but then you're also the guy who made those rules, and it doesn't feel good when we meet you. But we also didn't worship friends in low places, so we're not going to come in with those rose-colored glasses and be like, "You're the coolest. You can just step on me, Garth Brooks. It's fine." No, dude, be a good person. There's a lot of just be a good person that could go a long way in some of these things. But we were chatting about the people who do it on their own, the artists who don't need radio, and what we are seeing is happening in the business. Like, from a high level, it's deals with record labels to get their music out there to be heard, so that when they come as the first of 4 openers on some already mapped out from 5 years in advance mega ticket show lineup, that's also a monopoly on who can play within however many miles of whatever. Like, it's such a huge unproperly regulated kind of thing that's going on there, in my opinion. And I'm sorry for our friends that work in the ticket and beer money industry. But because you got good checks, it's working well. Like, I'm no fool to revenue streams. And but there is also that I've heard lately that shows don't sell out as much as they used to. People don't go do things as much as they did. And maybe this is still like recovering from pre-pandemic world. But where you used to see a headliner come and do like a Saturday and a Sunday, I don't know how much that's happening anymore. When I hear artists are going, "Yeah, we're not going to do a stadium tour anymore," or they're canceling, like, what was it? Jennifer Lopez, I think, was like, "Oh yeah, no, wait, I'm a megastar. Nobody wants to come see me live." There's some realizations happening out there, and I think people are starting to be a little more careful too with their money. Go ahead.
$35 service fee. Like,
Exactly.
so when did that start? And I know that's being fought right now, but like,
That's fair.
You can go to a low level artist and still pay $60-$70 for the ticket alone. And then you got to pay for the beer and the parking and all the stuff on top of that. So you're looking at, I always do roundabout numbers, and, you see a C or B level artist, you're looking at probably a $350 night. You're going to, a Luke Bryan show or whatever, you're probably looking at like a $500 night.
Yeah. Taylor Swift at 1,000.
Yeah.
I saw a video of some girls who compared, is it cheaper to see Taylor Swift in Europe than it is in America? Did you see this video? Have you seen it? It wasn't, but it's still interesting that a trip to another part of the world is just about as expensive as a trip to see Taylor Swift in your neighborhood. I can comment that when I was in Barcelona for a week, I went to a corner store. I'm actually wearing my Barcelona soccer. Sorry, we call it football in the international world. I'm wearing the kit here.
Your kit,
messy. Yeah. But anyway, a Monster Energy drink at your local gas station, $3 to $4, right? Like $1.25. I'm sorry, €1.25 over there. It's insanely overpriced. Everything is insanely overpriced in this country in particular.
Yeah.
No, I'm just giving everybody a minute to think more about that. I want everyone to realize I went to Barcelona for a week and I was like, I could live here so much better. I could have a nice place in the city. Like, I could drive the nicest car. But I don't. I think it's the inflation in the States and the way that things balance out is, they don't buy property in other places. They don't have air conditioners in other parts of the world. Big cars aren't a thing in the downtown Barcelona. Everybody's got a little moped or walking. It's very different in different parts of the world. And I think that we as Americans have been sheltered by that. But that's a conversation for probably another podcast. not Mason and Remy's No Frequency podcast. I mean, but it's just interesting to travel and to see the different ways that different cultures and universes, circles handle things. And when you look at the business model of what radio is doing, you kind of go like, wait, what is how just they're just juicing people who are like really passionate about creating things and being entertaining. And then meanwhile promoting like sub-level artists who just get in scandal after scandal and have problem after problem. And then we have to take down our videos with Jared from Subway and all like everybody that they want us to talk to, we should never have talked to, like all this stuff. And if we had it our way from the start, if we went back to 2010, we would never talk to anybody that was not an interesting human being. You know, the number of times we had to go, oh, do we have like notes that they sent us for people that we had to talk to?
Yeah.
What do they want us to say? Because why are we doing this? Number of interviews that we just posted to blogs, you know, like why? It just doesn't make sense. And they are using radio as a platform to expose their new artists so that they can come to town and get your beer money and get your ticket money. And, you know, hopefully keep that cycle repeating. So long tangent there about where we were, and radio is a tough spot to champion right now, as we get these questions a lot about going into the business. Like you had classes when you graduated from ISU. You still talk, I think, with your professors from those classes, and I'm sure they don't love some of the things we're saying as potential students. They might be like, you know, that Remy, he was a really good student and he got a full-time job in big cities. Go check him out. And then they go watch you go, don't do this. They go, hey, did you see this? They might have some things to say. I would love to be able to say that radio right now is a great place to work, but I don't think that you should make that. And maybe Remy will have a separate take on this. The question, should I get into radio, comes up a lot. And for me, I want to say, don't pursue it as your focus. You know, I didn't go to college at all. Straight out of high school, I started in radio. But tell me if I'm wrong. You have a major and a minor, right? You go to college, right? I would minor in radio. I would have that as something you can do. And even for me, and I'm going to ask your opinion on this too, Remy. It's not only that, but like, I mean, when you approach radio nowadays, it's also a minor focus. That's how I would approach it. Because for me and you, like, I think about, what are we doing? We're doing this. Radio could use it, I guess, but I'm not making this for radio. This could be something you could share on radio. This is the content for me. Radio, if they wanted it, you should hire somebody to take what we made and make it into radio.
Yeah.
That's how I feel. It's hard for me to say. I would focus on creation, content, editing, production, style. These lights I got, this microphone, this camera, more valuable than anything I learned in school, to making me seem like I'm a legitimate broadcaster with anything to say of relevance. But that's all you need now. Look at the people who are successful on so much less. Kids that are streaming from their bedroom, saying skibbity toilet Ohio Riz, are getting more followers and exposure than anybody with an actual point. So, like, be careful where you focus.
Yeah.
I would say if you're looking at getting into radio, I would look more at creating content, and maybe they can use it on the radio. Maybe that could be a part of your strategy.
Yeah.
What do you say? You graduated, you went to college for this. So I'm sorry if this pains you to hear me say these things, having paid tuition fees to learn about these things. What do you think, Remy?
We're in the boat now, if it makes you feel any better, that, you know, if the kids, our kids, my kids, have any aspirations other than college, we'd totally entertain that and be on board with something, as long as there was some sort of plan, you know, or maybe not. Like, give me a compelling reason to not go to college, and I'll listen, because I feel like, you know, I went to a state school, so I think total maybe 60 grand for 4 years. That's at a lot of colleges. That's like 1 year
Yeah.
with room and board and everything. Think about taking $240,000 and then just investing it in the stock market at 10%. You know what I mean? Like, you're on your way as far as finances go. I think if you're going to go to college, and I think for the people that are asking the question, should I get into radio? I think that there is a need for a deeper understanding on how people do communicate. I think that mass communications is still a viable major, which is where broadcast stems out of.
That's fair.
I
Yeah.
think that a lot of times you're right. There are people that will just buy a mic, buy a camera, buy some lights, get on, start streaming, but they lack the depth
Mhm.
that is needed to connect with people. And I noticed that a lot in the field that I'm in now, which is heavily in the YouTube space, or heavily in, I'm doing a podcast, and I know that, people that consider themselves to be influencers or whatever they don't have the skill set as deep as, and this isn't a brag, but as deep as what I can bring to the table when it comes to communication. So I think
Mhm.
that I think that there is deeper work to be done. If this is something that you want to do, I would not go the traditional terrestrial radio route, but I do think that there is a definite need for content. I hate that word. Um, I hate that everything is just like packaged into the word content. But this is conversations that I've had with, a couple people over the last couple weeks who are looking for their next thing. And local businesses might be good at being a local business. They might be good. They might be good at making donuts, right? Or cutting hair, but they are not good at making video and communicating their brand across social media. And I think that that's where you could come in and give them that video content, give them that reel, give them that backstory, give them that authenticity, that transparency, give them their brand on a different level. And I think that that is so needed. So it might not look like terrestrial radio. It might not look like going to a station, getting into a studio, turning on a mic, playing music, but you can still be fulfilled creatively doing things for businesses and making money and working for yourself a lot of times. Like, you don't need a big giant corporation to back you, maybe at first, but I would always look to invest in yourself down the road instead of relying on someone to be like you said earlier, you're just a number. You are your salary. It's your name and it's your
Mhm.
salary. And if we eliminate this salary, we've added to our, we can go back into the black, as they say. um so I would not advise going into radio as it is now. If you were just getting in, there are so many other options: streaming, podcasts, YouTube, content making, whatever the case may be.
Mhm.
But anybody who's been in and gotten out now, all they can think about is how they're just going to get let go again, because the money just keeps diminishing. So it might not be personal, but it's not reliable, and it won't be reliable. So that's my long-winded take on if you should get into radio or not.
Yeah, not at all. I don't think, first off, not at all long-winded, well thought, well said. Second, I agree. For me, I'd focus more on public speaking, presentation, project management, leadership, those kind of like soft skills, those base skills that you need, because they will all play into what you will do if you want to be not just radio, but a presenter, an entertainer, which is what I think is a natural skill for some people. Some people have it, some people don't. Some people see a mic and they go, boom, let me grab it. Other people see a mic and they go, and they're scared. They're scared of it, right? Like there's two kind of people. That's them. The ones who gravitate toward it are naturally ready to engage with an audience and talk to people, not afraid of what's going to say. Let's figure it out. We can do all that. Those are the people I would say have a natural ability to do the things that radio needs. But I don't think you want to focus on this as a place to go, because it's only profitable and effective at high levels. And in small towns, it's one to two people, overworked, underpaid, and just bad feelings, again and again and again. And I hate to say that I've experienced it, that I still hear about it. But I would focus on those other skills, like you were saying, um, uh, public speaking, or streaming, or um,
Like, become your
broadcasting as a whole.
become your own agency, become your own. Like, grab 4 or 5 different local businesses. I think once you get one on board, like part-time, show the success stories or at least show the content that you're making for that person. And you're obviously gonna need to hone your skills when it comes to video. You know, the amount of video that can be shot on a phone now is just
Mhm.
insane. I've got the iPhone 15. It shoots like you wouldn't be able to tell on YouTube what is being shot by my nice camera and what is being shot by the iPhone. Now, if we were to go to a movie theater, you'd definitely be able to see the difference there
Yeah.
because they're just not they're not comparable. Um, but you need to composition, like video composition, shot composition. That's all stuff that if you really do want to dig into it, you can and you should. And that's where maybe the college stuff comes into play, or at
Yes.
least like community college. So you're not paying out the ass for college, for secondary education, but getting a deeper understanding on how people communicate with each other, presenting those kinds of things. Because like we've said in previous episodes, people just are scared to stand in front of people and say words.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, Even my heart beats a little fast,
Sure.
before we're going to go on stage. And I think that just lets you know that you're human, right?
Yeah.
But there's a special breed of people out there that are unaffected and can present well in front of people. And if you think that that's you, there's plenty of opportunity out there that isn't
Mhm.
terrestrial radio.
Yeah. I never thought I would enjoy presenting uh, PowerPoint slides as much as I do now because it gives me that live performance rush where I'm like, all right, we got a room. I had a meeting today where I said, hey, everybody, welcome. We got a list of about 40 people here. I don't think we're going to get that, but we'll get close to it. We'll give a couple more minutes for people to come on in. Appreciate you joining us. Thanks. Somebody popped in and was like, former radio guy. And I was like, okay. Like, yeah, maybe. Don't be mad. But of course, I work in video games now, and it's like introverted nerds like myself love spreadsheets and data. They're not the same skill set as someone who is customer facing and in the spotlight. I've had a lot of years doing that, so it's no problem. Right off the shoulders. Hand me the mic. Let's go. You know what I mean? I'm not afraid to. That might look terrible now that I think. As I, it's going to be
That's
a
the clip.
short
That's the
son of a
thumbnail.
bitch.
That's the
Yeah,
thumbnail. So
great. If you can provide these nuggets, you too could be in this position. Uh, it's all part of it. You can't be afraid. You know what I mean? Nothing bad is going to happen. You're out there putting yourself on the line. Good for you. Uh, I would say it takes guts to do that. And if that's something you're willing to do, then chase it. Make something. If somebody asked me right now, should I get into radio? Like, what do you want to do? Do you want to just talk? Do you want to work in music? Do you want to make something? These are
mhm.
different things, but they're all in the same vein, you know?
Yeah. The
If
amount of
you're
promotions, like street team people, sorry to cut you off.
Yeah,
The amount of street team people that we worked with, and for those that aren't familiar with radio, street team is it's like the lowest level entry job that you can get at a radio station. So lots of college kids are coming in for the summer and they'll come and set up tents and they'll just help out at promotions and all of those kinds
bannering
of
up
things.
the venues, putting up
Yeah.
those posters and stuff. Yeah.
But I'll always talk to them on a remote broadcast. Had the opportunity to talk to a lot of them over time because the turnover rate on street teamers is so high. They come and go quickly. And I always ask, like, what do you want to do? Do you want to be in radio? Do you want to be behind the scenes? Like, what are you looking to do? And a lot of them would say, I love to be on the air. And I go, well, does anybody know that you want to be on the air? And they're like, no, I'm afraid to email whoever. And I'm like, you're in the email system now. You need to email people that you want to be on air. That's what you're trying to do. And then you get the right people in your corner and they will start to put you in those positions, but you have to make it known. And the other part of that is I would always tell them, you have the ability to do this right now. You don't need a mic, you don't need a camera, you don't need anything. You have voice memos on your phone.
Mhm.
There are plenty of podcasting apps that you can download and just talk. Hone
Make
your
something.
craft with
Yeah.
talking. Yeah, make the podcast. The likelihood that they would do that is always, very, very low. Um, because I think in their mind, they're like, oh, I'll eventually get there. I don't have an idea right now, but I was once told by someone to just talk, like just say how your day was, or say what you're feeling right now, or what you would like to improve about yourself, or just hearing yourself and hearing your cadence and talking, you'll get used to that. And then eventually when that opportunity comes up, you'll be ready for it. You'll be like, oh, I got a whole catalog of stuff here. Just listen to this. And then you're ready, instead of the other person that comes in that has zero history doing any kind of content because they feel like they're entitled enough to get the job. I think that gives people a huge leg up. So if you're coming into the industry, that would be my advice for sure.
Yeah, I like that. That's the idea of just following your passion and doing what you feel good about is important. And if you're like, how am I gonna put together an air check when I've never been on the air? How many times have we said we're faking all of this? How many times have we talked about these bits that are not real? Fake it till you make it. Shit, some of them are out there making it and faking it. There's big artists who aren't right. You know what I mean? Like, sorry, just following this whole Kendrick Lamar Drake thing. I don't want to like reference it too much, but like, you know what I mean? Like you see and you hear about ghostwriters, and you see and you hear about these people who are just out there posing. And if you're actually passionate about it, let that prop you up. Don't let anything stop you. The longer you do it, the better you will get at it. The more times you get knocked down, the better you will be getting back up. It's all about how you react. How many of these cliches can I, like these things, they're all true, by the way.
Yeah.
And I think the longer you do these things, the better you'll feel about your ability to do them. The more people will see you doing them, and the more opportunities you will get. With that being said, we've talked a lot. We have a lot more examples of the things we've made to go through. And we've had a fun time. And I mentioned this before in other episodes. This whole Eras tour has been cataloging like a lot of our content that we've made that went to random pages here and there, whether it was like Facebook for this page in St. Louis or like some Twitter video in Chicago. We've had to kind of scour the internet to find our body of work. And now we've found a way to compartmentalize it in different eras and bring it here to say, this is how this went. This is how this worked. Honesty is the new compelling content in my eyes. I'm sick of being lied to. I'm sick of people on television writing scenes that are so predictable and unbelievable that it's just not a thing. This isn't. Remy has heard me complain about reality television for a decade now. And I get it. If you like it and you enjoy it and you smile, no time spent smiling is time wasted. I'm not hating. I like the passionate, real stuff that people make that means something to them. And this stuff that we made, it meant a lot to us. It was, everything I know it was everything to me to a fault. And so going back to relive some of it, to share where we were at the time, has been healing. It's been fun. It's been great to connect with people who were a part of it. And it's been great to show where we started. Can we go back? And I think this was one of our first CMA fests. Was this our first year? I think it was, because the camera is so low quality that it feels like we would never have let this happen later in our days. This feels like that terrible blue camera that our boss got us just so we had something. You know which one I'm talking about, because it was standard definition. It was like 428p, like not even 720. It was like whatever it is, 345, very low quality. But before, and this is while Blake Shelton was still becoming a big star, but before the era of The Voice and him being a mainstream star like he is today, we sat down with Blake Shelton, and this video should have gotten way more love than it did.
Oh, jeez.
We'll do some introductions. My name is Mason.
I'm Remy.
And you are, sir?
Mason.
Nice to meet you.
Remy.
Yes.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Young.
That's good.
You having fun yet?
Now we are.
Yes,
So
we
sit
are.
here and get a little workout in while I'm doing this interview here.
First one of the day. Are we your starting point this morning?
Yeah, first interview I've had this morning.
On a big day where a huge album came out for you. How are you feeling about that?
First greatest hits just came out.
Yeah.
Just like
We saw the tweet 16 minutes ago.
Yeah, but it came out at midnight last night on iTunes or whatever. Man,
just
this thing
yelling.
this really gets you worked up.
That's what I'm saying. It
Yeah.
works. 6 minutes
Yeah.
a day is all it takes.
You
Not
getting
that we
this?
need it.
You recording this?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Hell yeah.
Okay.
So the holidays on, what do you look forward to when it
I remember that was like this moment was one of the pinnacle moments for my wife, who was on the other side of the camera during
That's
this.
right.
Yeah, she's like, I got to hug Blake Shelton. He was so nice. And I remember that CMA Fest in particular. That's when we started bringing props like that, like just fun, weird things. And so I think Rascal Flatts is also doing the shake weight. They were the best because their handler came in. They're like, oh yeah, we got a minute and a half for your interview. And I was like, well, that's like less than one question, but okay. And you've got Gary LaVox just going to town on the shake weight.
It's chaos. The three of them come in. I don't even know if we got a question off. I'm pretty sure it was actually like 30 seconds in the end.
Yeah.
But yeah. That was super fun. Like, look at how good of a sport Blake Shelton is. Natural entertainer, right? Not afraid to just sit there and do this. When I think most people would pick that up and go, oh, I don't want to look awkward doing this. No, look awkward. We want you to look. That's why we're here. This video will see so many people if you look awkward, and they will know that you have an album out. Now, do you see what we were trying to do? Meanwhile, all of the other people are like, what are you doing? This is so unprofessional. I can't believe you brought a shake weight. I'm sorry, but you have no clue what you're talking about.
Yeah. In another CMA Fest after that, we had our own little, like, we were in a recording studio. Do you remember this? We were in the piano room, I think is what they called it. But we had the ball one. I forget what that was called, but it had two red balls on the end, and it was like jiggly.
It was like the shake weight. Yeah.
I forget what it was called though. If
Brett Eldredge did
video, it's playing right now. If not, then no.
I remember, I think it was Brett Eldredge. I remember like very young in that career. And this is another inside, what's the term they use? Inside baseball, behind the curtain kind of thing. The CMA Fest, they can invite you to the radio room. You can sit where we were with Blake Shelton, or you can not get invited and not go, and you can end up going through one of these secondary things. And that's where we ended up. Like, it was somebody who knew somebody who had a recording studio, who was kind of like, not necessarily like the backdoor CMA Fest access, but they knew everybody. So when they would go to the CMA Fest thing, then they would come over to you afterwards. Like, you know, there was people who just knew people. Oh, you did?
So I just love my job and playing music and all that.
And working out.
Where's the instructions?
So
Here.
Can you like do it over your head or something?
There you go.
Yeah, there you go. You have to do the whole interview like that.
Here's your instructions.
Very professional.
Okay.
Very demure.
There are different workouts. We'll do introductions.
Oh my god. I'm gonna do this one.
All right, my name is Mason.
Wait, what do you? I'm Remy.
We're working our biceps.
Yes.
My biceps.
We're doing really weird. I don't really know what you call this.
Do the one where you hold the ball underneath.
That's awkward.
No, it's really odd. Look.
It is actually in the instructions.
This is the close cousin of. No, I can't do that one.
So good.
So Brett Eldredge, by the way, was peak. Brett Eldredge was like a quality dude to talk to as well. He got it right. Like, he spoke the language. He knew what we were doing, and he knew. I'm sorry. What were you going to say? Apologies.
I think we brought Nerf guns that year too. It was just fun to have different things because I think we've described these rooms before, but at CMA Fest or any radio room, really, it's just stalls that are pipe and drape, and the artist goes from one radio station to the next, and every single one of these scenes looks the same. So we wanted to look different. So we brought flags, we brought Cardinal stuff, we brought things that when you entered our area, our table, you knew that you were in St. Louis and you were entering a different world, if that makes sense. So we had all these props and things and got a lot of good content. I feel like we should re-release some of that now on TikTok and just see how it does.
Oh, that's a great idea, actually. And we definitely should scour our past content and look at that stuff. And I'd love to make some stuff that we have since privated, like, or turned off accessibility. I'd love to re-show some of that stuff.
Yeah.
That's kind of what we're doing here, but in a different, way. What's the word? Repackage, re-release. Whenever somebody puts out an album, then Christmas comes along and they release like 2 more tracks on the deluxe version. That's kind of what we're doing here. Like when you see the Taylor Swift video break out from our 2-hour episode, it's like, maybe they don't want to hear about everything else, but they want to see that Taylor Swift thing alone. Just repackaging and re-releasing some of that stuff it's probably a great idea. We should do that.
Yeah.
Because there's so many good little nuggets back there from that. And that was when we were firing. That was when we were on mornings. our first run in St. Louis, and we had that energy, that creativity, that I don't care. I'm going to ask Vince Gill about cicadas, and I'm going to bring a shake weight to Blake Shelton and get weird looks from all the nerds and old guys who are here going, tell us about what you were thinking about when you wrote that song about your kids. Ah. And if that's touching to you, that's fine. We wanted to go another route. We wanted to stand out. We wanted to do something different. And Blake Shelton doing this during an interview, nobody else did that.
Truth.
And I love it. And I wish more people had the guts to do that stuff and not be afraid to look stupid in the aftermath.
Yeah.
You know? I think the end justify the means in some of those moments.
Yep.
But we had a lot of these kind of videos that we can weave in between. I want to check out a bunch of these stuff. A bunch of these different videos that we have from different points in our life. I was going to make a great segue from that to this next video and reference the end, because I think we're talking about your colonoscopy, which was many years later. This was like when you're watching Blake Shelton and us with a shake weight, you're watching young Mason and Remy. Colonoscopy Remy was probably 10 years later.
Yeah. I think this was when on our return in St. Louis. I had been feeling something, and I went to the doctor, and they were like, go to this guy. And then this guy was like, I don't think anything's going on, but let's do a colonoscopy just to, show you that your insides are okay. And everybody, whenever there's like wisdom teeth or colonoscopy where you've been drugged and you're coming out of it,
Mm-hmm.
you want to capture that moment. And this is from post colonoscopy as I'm waking up, and I don't remember what I said here, so apologies in advance.
No, this is
Well, I have
great.
diarrhea. I just feel like there's like the fast food Mexican, and then there's like some higher up Mexican.
So do you want
It's
trash
accurate.
Mexican or higher up Mexican?
I am food. Anything.
Anything. I think you're getting Taco Bell.
That works.
I don't know where this goes from here, but it's 4.5 minutes. So
There are so many of those videos that go viral. I remember, and I probably pushed way too hard. Make sure you record. Make sure you record afterwards. We got to capture that moment. I am so afraid of that moment. If I ever have to go under anesthesia, you know me. I say a lot of things that I think that you probably shouldn't say out loud. Imagine if I was drugged. Man, I'm afraid. I want to say I need a third party to come and pick me up, because it can't be someone I'm associated with, because God forbid I say something about them that I'm truly feeling. I cannot have that. Like, I need an Uber to take me home, and a 12 to 14 hour personal care provider to be there to make sure I don't like poop in the house or whatever it is, just to make sure, you know what I mean? Just to make sure I don't tell my wife something that she's like, okay, we're done.
Yeah.
I fear that moment, but you were a good sport in that, and so many more moments that I know I put too much pressure on you to perform. So thank you for that. If I have never said that,
no, it's all good. It's all good.
there was a lot of it feels weird to say, like, we got to capitalize on these moments, but like, how many colonoscopies are you going to get? Or we tried and campaigned to tell me, I don't know, this might be a little out of nowhere, but also personal. Did you ever get the snippy snips?
No.
We always talked about getting that done on the air and doing it live, and
Yeah.
like live, like on the air, live, like broadcasting video live, just
Yeah.
as had live. We could never, and that is such a great moment. How did that never get sold? How did, oh, it's, I'm sorry. I have some theories on why it maybe never got sold, but, we'll save that for someday when I'm drugged.
Pooping on the floor.
Yeah, right. Let me tell you about the time. And I will tell you about that time someday. But I remember that was another one where I was like, that's money. You know what I mean? Like the tattoo, or these big, like, these are big things that are impactful and like people can relate to. Oh, I know what I said when I got a colonoscopy, or oh, what was that like? And is that video 9 minutes of Remy just farting? Because that happens in those videos too.
Yeah.
We didn't know what it would be, but I was hopeful for all of that. You know what? High class or low class street level tacos or whatever you talked about was great. It was fun, and I think this is something too maybe we haven't talked about, but being vulnerable on the air, not being afraid to be a real person, not having to be whatever that picture perfect example of a person is, can make you more relatable than anything. It was something that I think we never held back on telling people like what we felt about big beat items. Kudos to Alabama, who shared so much of her hardships on the air that she struggled with through family. But I remember when we talked about perceptuals and all the research that was done, that stuff connects way more with people than any of the, silly, goofy, laughy stuff that I could ever write. You know what I mean? Or that we could ever goofily create. That's more advice for those folks who are out there putting it on the line. Be authentic, be real. That's why we say we didn't want to do those fake bits. It's why we hated making all that stuff up, because it feels icky, man. I think we all know that Kramer didn't live next door to Jerry Seinfeld, but Jesus. What kind of a show are we running here? Those real things mean more. What a great segue to the Kane Brown video where in our second run in St. Louis, a small connection happened between an artist and a human person. And that changed their life. I guess I should say I still follow these folks on social media. I still leave little hearts when I just saw over the weekend. Mom shared hey, she let me take a picture of her because this girl we're about to show in this video is now a little older and a young adult who is, of course, of that age. It's like, Mom, stop. Ugh.
Yeah.
But I just left a heart on that because it was great to see these folks again. Do you have that Kane Brown video?
My name is Kara.
My name's Megan.
You guys were at Jingle Fest Saturday night, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Real close with a sign. What did your sign say?
Kane Brown hugged me.
So this was your first concert and an artist brought you up on stage. What are you feeling, Kara?
Shocked. I never thought that would happen. It's actually ironic because I got a fortune on Thursday and it said, an unexpected event will soon make your life more exciting.
Kane Brown is holding you. You have the biggest smile on your face.
That's crazy.
She's actually got that same smile right now.
What's your name?
Kara.
What is it?
Kara.
Say hey.
Hi.
Mom, why was this moment so special for you, seeing your daughter up there on stage?
Well, unfortunately, some things have happened this year that any 9-year-old girl shouldn't have to go through.
Do I understand she lost her father this year?
She
Yes.
did. And she actually, in the car on the way driving out of the parking lot, she did. You want to tell him what you told me?
So, when he hugged me, it really felt like when my dad used to pick me up and give me a hug.
Oh, wow. That's great. Well, I know that you had commented that, it's hard to smile sometimes. And this is one of those moments that I hope you never forget. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mason. Thank you, Remy.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
What a great moment. And by the way that she spoke, the way that she just said, I was talking, that's that natural ability that I was talking about. Kara could do this.
Yeah.
Not afraid to talk to people, not afraid to put herself out there, not afraid to tell you what she's thinking and just go like, I'm human. This is me. I love seeing that in kids who are not scarred by the world yet. You know what I mean? And I feel like we were those folks when we came to St. Louis. And by the end of it, we were scarred old men. At least I was. I was not the happy, bright-eyed kid that I had originally been when I came to St. Louis, 10, 11 years before. That's cool to see. Those moments, real connection, go way further than anything else. It's another lesson for anybody thinking about getting into this. You can make all the laughy, haha, jokes you want, but you'll connect with more people with that real.
Yeah, and that's super hyper local, and it was one of our most viewed videos, and so that's a testament to going above and beyond on a moment like that. That happens at every show. And I'm sure you've seen this on your feeds, but every time Taylor Swift gives out a hat at her show, they call it the hat girl or the hat receiver or whatever.
Mhm.
And it's the same thing every time. It is so planned. She doesn't shy away from the fact that it's planned, but they film it every single time, and every single time it gets thousands and thousands and thousands of views, because I feel like we're so disconnected from connection these days, and it just feels so everything feels so contentious these days, that these little moments of humanity just hit you in a different way. And I feel like we need way more of that. But I remember seeing that on stage, and I don't know who had the idea, but it eventually, or maybe they called the next day on the show or something, and then we just followed up with it. We made a big deal out of it. We had them shoot video while we were talking to them, and then we put that whole thing together. I remember being on the phone or in email with Family Arena trying to get the video feed from that show
right.
so that I could use that. But there's a lot of things that go into that from a logistical standpoint as well. But I got teary-eyed just then, so that still works.
That real stuff, man. Yeah, that's that stuff that cuts through. And I feel like we did a good job of that stuff whenever we were doing like Children's Miracle Network stuff or working with charities, trying to help those who need. That kind of stuff always rings so much more loudly than whatever you've got over a 7-second intro. That's what I mean when I say, like, you're not giving people the opportunity to be human. You're not giving them the opportunity to be themselves. When our consultant says you guys need to be human and be yourself, no, our boss tells us I need to talk about a contest and give a text line number. And we just feel desperate for attention, and the things we create are devalued because of that.
Yeah.
There was a lot of sorry, I'm looking through this list of stuff, and I have building is on fire. I don't know what this is. What is this?
You don't know what this is?
What happened? Do you have
This
a
is
video of a fire?
This is another one of those moments where it is akin to the Brian Williams old school light bulbs moment. Do you remember that?
I mean, yeah, but
We took a segment that was on the news and we remixed it because it was very funny. And here's that.
My friend came to the door. She said, well, I was on the phone cooking me and my baby some breakfast. And she said, hey, something wrong. It's popping. I said, what? She said, yeah. I said, no. So the girl come downstairs. She come out her apartment with her baby with no shoes on. I said, oh, girl, it's cold outside. She said, something ain't right. I said, oh, man. She said, oh, man, the building is on fire. What? She said, yeah. I said, what? Oh, man, fire. Well, I was on the phone cooking me and my baby some breakfast. Oh, man. Fire. I said, no, what? I got my 3 kids and we bounced out. Fire. And she said, hey, something wrong. It's popping. We ain't gonna be in no fire. Not today.
I think that's where Not Today came from.
Not today. Yeah, I think you're right. It reminds me of Ain't Nobody Got Time for That. There was that era of people remixing actual news content, and we wanted to get in on that. I forgot about her. I said, what? She said, no. Beautiful. Real humanity caught, captured, and put up on a pedestal. I think that was we did a lot of that kind of stuff. A few of them. I remember I feel like you did one with Chris Pratt. I feel like there was one with Jacques the Lobster. What was that from? Was that from Little Mermaid or what?
That
Nemo?
was Finding Nemo, yeah.
Finding Nemo. There was a lot of those things. Of course, they got like copyright striked, and some of them had to come down. We had so many of those videos too, where we took like a bit of Carrie Underwood or Taylor Swift and did some stuff, and then they saw it and were like, "Stop it!" So we had to like take it down. But there were a lot of different pieces of content that we made throughout time. Remy, who was always, I think, a natural performer. We've talked about this being natural performers and entertainers, and a love of singing, created the new Christmas classics at one point for us, right?
It sure did. I think we tried this a couple times. I think I tried it in the first couple years that we were there, and I just did it solo. But I think this one hits a lot better. So here's Mason and Remy's new Christmas classics.
Let's go.
It's the holiday season again, and you've heard jingle bells, and it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas a billion times.
Are you ready for some new Christmas classics?
Hey, it's Mason
And Remy.
and we've heard you're sick of the same old Christmas songs, so we've written some new Christmas songs to celebrate the holiday season.
Now available on iTunes, Mason and Remy's new Christmas classics.
Like another pine needle. Merry Christmas! Again! Another pine needle stuck in my foot. That's it, that's the end. Next year, we're getting a fake tree.
Buy now and get all 57 of Mason and Remy's new Christmas classics like Drinking, so Aunt Rita makes sense, 250 parts and instructions in German, Stuff My Stocking, Mom Got Me Socks and Underwear, and many more.
It's an heirloom, a family heirloom. You feel like it's precious, but it's just something gaudy that Grandma bought 20 years ago. Ceramic Christmas tree. Throw out those old Burl Ives records. Who names their kid Burl anyway?
Get Mason and Remy's new Christmas classics with sing-along songs like Gift Card Instead.
I didn't know what to get you, and I'm not very creative, so I got you this gift card instead.
We know the next generation needs something fresh, like a holiday take on Meghan Trainor's new classic, All About That Bass.
You know I'm all about that Christ, no devil. I'm all about that Christ, no devil. Plus, we know the streets are missing out on Christmas music, so we've teamed up with hip-hop superstar and Celebrity Apprentice contestant Lil Jon.
You know we all about that paper.
Check out this collabo. It's paper.
Wrapping paper.
Let's go.
Red, green, red, green, red, green, red, green.
I fold them corners.
Counters.
Scotch tape.
Scotch tape.
Throw them bows on presents of any shape.
Any shape. Hurry, time and the holiday season is running out.
Order now. We'll send you this penguin.
Not available now at terriblemorningshow.com.
That was fun.
$75.
Yeah, and I'm realizing as this thing is playing that Gen Z has no idea what like the Time Life classic, ad on TV was like. You know, you call the 1-800 number, you get the Time Life classics, or like John Tesh's classics, or Celine Dion. They would sell CDs on the TV during soap operas and things like that, and that's what we were spoofing.
Yeah. Zamfir, master of the pan flute, and 46 double disc tracks, and like the best of the Eagles, or something like that. The 80s and 90s and today would come up, and they'd have like a couple of people sitting around in like a 50s sock hop diner going, "Don't you wish you could get all the classics?" By the way, Burl. I'm sorry. I made the note Burl at one point in my life, and I'm glad that I got a joke about that into that video. That feels so fun. So, by the way, that is my grandma's actual ceramic Christmas tree that I still have now, and until 2 years ago, I thought was 100 years old. I was like, my grandma bought this when my mom and dad were kids. Like, they remember it being there. No, it says like 1987 underneath it. It's like just spray painted ceramic garbage. It's not an heirloom.
And they're back.
So
yeah, we have the kids each have one for their room, a green one and a white one, and they look exactly the same. I mean, now they have LED lights in them. They don't have the screw in bulb or whatever, but
I still got the fire hazard screw in bulb with the 70s switch on it, dude. Yeah. We're keeping it real here. Yeah, it's not even an on off, it's a wheel switch.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like it's yeah, dude. Yeah, no. And if you go back in that video and watch again, the tree is spinning, and there's a moment you can see my hand come in and move the wheel that it's on. Our Easter eggs are top notch and need to be recognized by someone. We're doing our own new rock stars deep dive on our own content right now. That's what we're doing. Welcome back to Mason and Remy break down Mason and Remy.
They're going to talk about themselves for 2 hours. It's great.
Yeah, it's pretty good. You should try it sometime. It's fun. There are so many more moments where we did this. I remember was it like a Super Bowl commercial or one of those commercials where you see an athlete, but you see it all the time. like the commercial that gets overplayed so much that I feel like at this point, I remember you had to make fun of Russell Wilson's commercial, right?
Yep. Like there was no way around it. And I think at the time, we were pushing the app hard. And I remember this video in particular getting emailed to almost every station in the company because it was like it's a combination of a spoof, something that is relatable because everybody's seeing it, the music is familiar, but it also introduces the characters on the show in a different way.
But at
So
its
that-
heart, it was advertising for the app, which was
Exactly.
like the email that we got too was like they would incentivize us to best promote their products, right? Like, hey, if you guys can do this, we'll give you an iPad or something like that. Like that would happen.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. I think we actually won an iPad for one of those things.
We did. We wrote a Friday jam for the app.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So here's our Russell Wilson spoof.
Ask me about my radio dreams. Ask me about my inspirations. Ask me about my jersey collection. Ask me about my failed run in a small Mexican wrestling federation as a luchador. Like anyone, I've done some things. Listen in and I'll tell you all about them.
And I will do it for you.
Download the free app today.
Ask me about talking on the radio. Ask me about my wife's rib. Ask me about my aspirations to fly. Ask me about the time I was abducted by aliens. I kind of liked it. Like anyone, things happen to me. Listen in and I'll tell you all about it.
And I will do it for you.
Download the
Yeah, Philip Phillips. Man, he's still playing that song, I'll bet, somewhere.
Oh yeah. And I think that was the song. It was like a credit card, I think maybe a credit card ad or something. Maybe it was surrounding the Super Bowl, but yeah, we basically took the template of that and used it for our own. And if you are curious at this point, I will tell you about my wife's rib. I think it was during our first stint in St. Louis. This was actually really scary. My wife had what we found that she had a blood clot about 6 inches in her shoulder, and it's called thoracic outlet syndrome. And this happens a lot in pitchers, like professional pitchers. It's any kind of trauma that enters this area. So a lot, like she did ballet, so arms over the head, pitchers, arm, being throwing a ball. But there's 3 or 4 different things that run through here, and they can get pinched between your collarbone and your first rib. So that was happening. It caused a clot. So this procedure was, they remove the top rib, and that's the surgery. And it's super invasive. It's like a 12-hour surgery. It changed her life. Obviously she hasn't had any issues now.
That's great.
They had to use cadaver vein to repair that area. So it was very involved, but she wants nothing to do with this rib. And I'm like, we need to put it in a shadow box. We need to preserve it. Let's go. So that was kind of that was a thing that we talked about on the air every once in a while. But
And he would bring it in to the station and and he had the shadow box that he showed us, and he just, brought in his wife's rib.
Yep.
Kind of
still
often
floating around the house somewhere.
from what I remember. Yeah. But there were a lot of these moments. Ask me about my wife's rib. It's such a just random thing to say in the middle of, like, also I'm wearing an alien mask, and you could hear the like of alien noises in there. More of our great Easter eggs. A luchador. That mask is still back here. And I
on one of our Mexico trips, I think.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, from one of our Cancun or Mexico trips for sure. We were talking about this earlier, and we talked about Travel House and More Troy, some of our great advertisers. And you were talking earlier about making something. If anybody wants a Mason and Remy style advertisement campaign, just holler at your boys. I think have been big fans of guys like Rhett and Link and some of the stuff that they made, and a lot of the things that people don't know they made, including like Chuck Testa's taxidermy shop, or those really weird viral videos that you think are poorly made, but they're intentionally and ironically poorly made to go viral.
Mhm.
I think that stuff is brilliant, and I think that that's some of the places where our creativity could still be utilized. So, advertisers,
Oh, what a pitch. That was great.
pal, let's show them more reasons of why they should do that. No, we had a lot of fun doing our stuff there. I got another example of when I tried to sneak in my love for video games on the air, and also get Remy to do what he does best, which is like fumble around in odd situations. When we would put you into these situations, it always turned golden. Like, you know what I mean? We knew that like whatever you were going to say or do, I think we were like, it's going to be fun. Whatever happens, it's going to be fun. And this was on our second run in St. Louis, where Fortnite was such a huge thing. I mean, we talked about at the end of Chicago putting Fortnite dances into the videos that we were doing. Now, I was going to teach Remy how to play Fortnite, the most popular game at the time in the world. This was a huge headline because this company, video game company, was one of the first to make like $1 billion putting silly characters into this game. And now the second Marvel announces that Robert Downey Jr. is Doom, an entire Marvel universe goes into Fortnite. What is this world where Marvel is advertising somewhere? Why the same thing we talk about how like, you know, Chris Stapleton doesn't need radio. Marvel doesn't need advertising. You know what I mean? But here they are partnered with one of the biggest IPs in the world now, which is Fortnite and Epic Games. So I thought it would be a lot of fun to cross the streams and somehow work in that I'm streaming video games and try and get Remy to play. Not only because I know that this would be entertaining content, but I know that Remy is not a video game guy. And not only that, but it's mouse and keyboard. It's not even a controller, right? Like it was used the WASD. This is advanced gamer situations. So if you have that ready to go, let's check out Remy learns how to play Fortnite. What a skin.
It's back there on the under the stairs. I don't know if I've ever seen someone struggle to pick something up so much. I could log you into my account. You could use
Dude, that guy's over there. Oh my god, they're everywhere. Oh my gosh, they're everywhere. I'm here. I have arrived.
No one's there. You know where you're going? You're going the wrong way. You got to get to Tilted Towers.
Rest in peace, Tilted Towers.
The other right. There it is. Hit your map. See that circle?
Yes.
You want to be inside of it.
Oh, good lord.
No, no, no. Oh, I got him in midair. You didn't see it?
Dude,
oh my God.
I just got a kill. Thanks. I suck at this game.
No, you're doing great.
No, that's bad.
You're doing great.
That's pretty bad. I haven't built a fort yet.
Do you have an Amazon Prime?
Oh, yeah, I do. Because I like getting things in 2 days.
Yeah, who doesn't? If you have an Amazon Prime, you can actually link your Twitch account to your Amazon Prime account. You have a free 1-month subscription. You could subscribe to my channel.
Oh. Oh, but you get paid that cash money if I do that, right?
Yes, I do.
I was not mention the name of the channel. Nice job, Mason.
Yeah.
Also, I don't do that anymore, but it worked. In the end, I ended up using the Invisnerd kind of persona to bridge my way into working in video games like I do now. And I'm not allowed to stream them anymore because I work there. And it's kind of a conflict of interest for me to be like, watch me play this game.
Yeah.
I make games.
Yeah, that was fun though. I actually tried. I don't know if you know this, but maybe I talked to you about it, but I downloaded Fortnite, and in our first couple months of being back in St. Louis, we were the family was kind of with me, but then they were kind of in Bloomington Normal, and we were trying to look for a house. So there's a lot of times where I was just at this temporary apartment by myself for days, and so I downloaded it, and I never got better. Ever.
It's all right. Some people got that ability and some people don't. It's all when people ask, Like, how do you do that? It's all muscle memory. I feel like this is my logic brain tells me, and I know it's different, but it's almost the same for playing an instrument. Like, you do it enough, you'll get the hang of it, and it'll become second nature. And next thing you know, you're not even looking to hit the M button for the map. You know what I mean? You know where it is, exactly where it is out of your peripheral, or you're just a feeling. But that was some of the fun stuff. Like, we got to do a lot of those kind of things. We didn't have a huge budget when it came to like creating videos. So Remy came over to my house for that one, and we recorded it. I think I live streamed and recorded it at the same time to just be like, this will be fun, you know. And now I feel like you see it more and more live streams happening more and more. But it's a low budget way to get things done. Speaking of budgets, I remember I think we talked about it in maybe our last video or the video before that we got station vehicles. This station that we were now we were coming to had probably 5 different station vehicles that had that morning show's like heads, in big heads on the side of this van. We could only expect the same, right? Right?
I never wanted it. I just never.
No. I didn't want it either,
man.
But I figured we should expect the same, right? No, we shouldn't.
This video was a part of the Mason and Remy World Tour, or the we're going on tour. And
when we came back, we came back to St. Louis and said, yeah, that's it. We're getting the band back together. We're going on tour.
Yeah.
All right, Remy, I'm in the parking lot. I'm ready for this tour. I don't see you.
You just gotta look for the vehicle with the faces on it.
The only vehicle I see with faces on it, our Button Broadway's truck.
Okay, well, just you stay there, and I'll come to you, okay?
Wow.
You like it?
Think you really went all out, huh?
I know, it only has like 258,000 miles on it. It's great. But you gotta get in like now, because it's gonna die if we don't like go.
I think that was true, actually. I think maybe it didn't go in reverse or something. Like, it couldn't go in reverse or something.
There was something.
That truck was busted. But no, we didn't have a budget. And I still have grape energy drink in my hand. That was in that video too. I had a grape kickstart Boba Fett shirt. I'm a vibe, friends. I know who I am. But there were a lot of these fun moments. I don't think we have any video or anything, but you talked about your love for Halloween, and you and Casey had vibed on that, and you guys had your whole like Halloween things, but we did too. When we were together, we had normal cadence of Halloween things. We had the most terribly assembled list of the best movies of Halloween. Is that proper billing? Or would you say, no, these are the best movies?
I think it was the way that we build it on the air was Mason and Remy's top 20 or top 30 Halloween movies
of all time.
And Hocus Pocus was always number 1. And the way that the gag was that I actually put it together and you had zero say in this list whatsoever. So Hocus Pocus was always number 1.
Always number 1. And by the way, we did this every year.
Yeah.
Every single year. All right, it's time for Mason and Remy's list. And then it would show up and be totally inaccurate from what I thought. And it was Remy's list. And it was just always Hocus Pocus at number 1. I think at one point you had Hocus Pocus 2 on the list, like up there. And like, did people know that existed? Or there was some other movies that were there that were like super underground cult classics that no one would have agreed with. That was quite clearly Remy. But it's to that point now, and I see it a lot in advertising or in engagement, which is what a lot of social media is now, which is what a lot of radio is now, is managing likes and exposure. Baiting, trolling, right? That's what this is. This is light trolling, right? This is like Hocus Pocus, best movie ever, right, guys? And just letting the comments do what they do.
But I sincerely think that it is. Like, I
know there is a swath of people who will fight for that, which is great.
Love Hocus Pocus.
And
it was okay, but not like number 1.
And my position as the antagonist on the show would be to be like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Hocus Pocus?
Poltergeist, bro.
You're right. You know, there's Jason, there's Freddy, there's Mike Myers, whatever Halloween, you know what I mean? There are all these scary movies. That's Halloween. No, bro. 3 Disney sisters? No. Like, I'm like, no, that's not scary. That's not horror. That's not it. That's not blood and guts. No. And that was the fun that we had literally every year. But we did it too with a candy tier list by putting like Necco wafers at near the top and just knowing it's gonna piss people off.
Yeah. Yep.
That's some of the fun that the media has with you.
And I do want to make mention while we were talking about Halloween, do you know what I'm going to say right now?
No.
If you mix candy corn
and peanuts,
it tastes like a payday.
Like a payday. Oh my gosh. People, and nobody understands the inside joke of that, is that we would get people calling every year when we would say, what's the best candy? They go, if you put yes, we know if we put the most terrible things together, it makes another terrible candy that exists. Thank you. But they would call every year like it was brand new. You know what I mean? But that's what we get for doing the same bit every year. It was fun though. And it's poking the bear, and it's definitely exactly what big media is doing to you now, because if you're not afraid by looking at the article, are you watching? Are you clicking? No, you're clicking.
Mm-hmm.
You clicked it. Now that just keeps happening. Now you're just getting baited in every article. Someone died was it in your neighborhood? Find out tonight at 10.
Yep.
And the only reason that keeps happening is because it's successful. It's because you're clicking it. It's because we bite into that stuff. Yeah, man. Yeah. Pulling on, like messing with people. It's trolling. At this point, it feels like it's trolling by the biggest media companies sometimes when you watch this stuff. But then you hear no one saying these things. Like when Disney puts out a movie and makes a questionable choice, did anybody really care? Or was it just headlines to get you to know that movie was coming out?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Marketing.
It leaked. It didn't leak. It never leaked.
Nothing leaks. There's no leaks. Like, people are leaking their own stuff. Ooh, Case in point, brother. And you'll respect this because it's Van City. It's Ryan Reynolds. The only reason he's Deadpool is because he leaked his own audition and pressured them, showed them. The people were like, yeah, he is a good Deadpool. And 3 movies. And by the way, the biggest Marvel movie just now because of an intentional leak. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Because he auditioned, they wanted him to be in it, and he wanted the Deadpool thing. And so they that screen test of him in the suit acting like Deadpool. There are interviews. If you search, did Ryan Reynolds leak it? He'll go, I don't know, maybe. Somebody who did. I mean, I don't know. Does it matter at this point? It worked, is kind of what he says. And they make fun of him for it because if we can go back to the beginning of the video, you got to sometimes take things into your own hands, and you can't trust a company that doesn't see your vision.
Mm-hmm.
Let the people decide. That's good stuff.
He's brilliant.
He is. I know you love him.
Exactly. Like I'm a big fan, obviously, but at the same time, it's like all that Mint Mobile stuff that he does, all that marketing is just so on the nose. It's just so great. And, obviously he's got that personality anyway, and he's got that reputation of just kind of being a funny, no BS kind of guy. But yeah, those Mint Mobile commercials, I think in an interview, he said they cost whatever it is, whatever the cost of the video clip that they use, that's the only cost, because he's not getting paid, or that's what he says, he's not getting paid to be the talent in it. Obviously he's getting it on the back end, but
right. He owns it. So he's making his money elsewhere. But if he can save cost paying talent by being talent, it makes sense. That's smart business. He's very smart in that he also involves his wife in a lot of stuff. Did you get a chance to see Deadpool Wolverine yet? You're gonna love it, because I know you love him. But then there's these moments, in the beginning, there's a whole dance sequence. I'm not sure if you've seen it leaked anywhere or heard about it at all. But it's one of the things that his wife too was you should get Gen X, Gen Z, all those folks are gonna watch. But this dance, you do this dance while this thing is happening. It's gonna be great. Same thing we've been talking about with how the video guys speak the language, they consume the content. He's one of those people that get it. That knows what's working out there. But yeah, big shout out to those kind of folks. Let's bring it back here. Back to Mason and Remy. We have a few more pieces of content we want to talk about before we get to the life lessons we learned. One of the things that I think I did learn during our time together was that anything can happen. You can meet your heroes. You can do things you never thought you would do. I know Remy was a huge baseball not only a fan, but you played baseball growing up. You were a pitcher. So when we went to throw out the first pitch at Busch Stadium, dream come true. Sorry if I'm going to pull back a little bit too much of the curtain here, but Remy didn't grow up a Cardinals fan, right?
Mm-hmm. I grew up a White Sox fan.
A White Sox fan. So this video, kind of cool, right? This is a cool moment for young Zach.
A little bit of backstory on this. They like I think that maybe you and Bama or you and Steve or someone had set this up to where it was going to be a surprise, that they sent me this box. The White Sox sent me this box, and we opened it on the air, and it was like, hey, we'd love for you to throw out the first pitch. I'm so excited. They gave me a hat, a jersey, all the things. And like a couple weeks later, my cousin asked me to officiate his wedding. So it was on the same exact night as the night I was supposed to throw out the first pitch. And so instead, we ended up taking calls and finding a worthy person to go do that. And that happened, and it was a great moment, but I didn't get a chance to actually throw out the first pitch. So this video is illustrating that. I'm sad.
Live the dreams.
So this is me. They let me out on the field on some random day, and I threw the first pitch to nobody. And that was it. I did get a chance to play catch with, gosh, I'm forgetting his name.
Yeah, you guys like chatted for a bit too. I remember he was like a young new player, right? Had a wife and kid that that he had just come to Chicago to be a kind of a new acquisition for the team.
I don't think he's playing anymore, but yeah, he was a heavy hitter for a little bit, and I forget his name. Oh,
it's all right.
Yeah.
But still, we got Remy on the field at Comisky throwing the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Dreams do come true, even if they're not the way that you thought they would come true.
Yeah, exactly.
Anything can happen if you work hard enough. I'm sorry, very, I don't want to be rude, very funny. But unfortunate that you could not throw out the first pitch, because until you started telling that, I forgot that that's how it played out.
Yeah.
Like I remember, because there was, I still have the little pin in my car that says Chicago Police that we got from doing the work with them for I think it was like police versus firefighter softball game that they did at Comisky, or at Guaranteed Rate or whatever it's called on the South Side. And that's a big moment for you as someone who grew up going to that ballpark, right? Like you used to watch games when you were a White Sox fan as a kid. Keaton, his dad's a White Sox fan as well, and so he's got Sox hat. We got to take him a couple times as well. So everybody that we have had a chance to work with, whether it was in Chicago or St. Louis, whether it was on the North or South Side, has been a class act to deal with. Everybody from baseball to hockey to football, just great people, buttoned up. So very cool to have the opportunity for you to be able to go out on that field and do that, because that's not access everybody can get.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
it was fun. It was fun.
Good memories. They were few and far between for me sometimes in Chicago. So I'm glad that there are those moments that we can look back on. I think we're coming to the end. We only have a couple more videos, and then I want to talk more about some of the things that we feel as we walk away. I think there was maybe one more, and this might be tough because there's logos all over it, and we don't want any legal problems. But this was one of those moments where I felt this, like I had this dream of what I wanted the show to look like. And it's always been more than just the audio you hear in your car. There was video that I always wanted to have, face cameras for everybody to see the reaction, but then also be able to integrate other medias that you're talking about. When we would play a clip on the air, you'd just hear the audio. But when we expand to this, like what we're doing right now, you can then see the video. You can see our faces react, which sometimes adds to the experience or conveys a better message than just auditory. This clip is one, again, right towards the end. One of the last things I feel like I know I did while I was in St. Louis on the second run, but it more closely resembles to where I wish we could have gotten. The destination, the goal of where I wanted to be was when TikTok went viral and featured Uranus, Missouri.
Anybody been to Uranus?
No.
Missouri?
I've always been interested.
And I've only asking this question after I saw this.
The drive from St. Louis on 44, you've seen so many signs for Uranus, Missouri. And before you think, come on, Jaron, you're better than that, you're right, I am. But they are not. 20 miles, there's these billboards that say things like big fun waiting in Uranus, live bait in Uranus. Their main attraction, the thing that they want you to pull off the highway for, is a fudge factory. The Uranus Fudge Factory. The slogan on the billboards is, the best fudge comes from Uranus. And if you think for a second that that's going to make me pull off the road and add an hour to my trip to go buy some fudge from this fudge factory, you know me, because that's exactly what I'm going to do. As I walked out, they said, thanks for picking Uranus.
So, like, everything is a joke, right? Do we get to Uranus? This is going to be hard to get through. I'm sorry. I know that everybody has seen signs for Uranus. And we've all probably wondered, does anybody go there?
Yeah.
Here's this guy. He went, and I saw that, and I thought to myself, we've got to have listeners who have been to Uranus.
I want to know about your visit. I want to know about the fudge in Uranus. I want to know about everything.
Tell us about more than the fudge. What else is in Uranus?
Do they have a souvenir shop in Uranus? All of the things.
Why are you smiling?
Because I was just thinking, I can't believe it took us this long to talk about this.
Like, I want to go there, but I just never have the chance. This guy did it. He went to Uranus because he saw the signs and he's like, finally, I'm going to get fudge from Uranus. I'm going to eat it.
One word. One word.
Yeah, you kind of said
One
that.
word.
3147.
Talking about? That's how you say it, Uranus.
You can't.
You got to keep it separated.
Yeah, you can't spread them.
Good morning. You guys were talking about Uranus.
Yeah.
It actually has a lot to offer. They've got a restaurant there that was really good.
So Uranus is like a great place to go eat out.
Yeah, Uranus has a lot to offer.
Yeah, they have a bunch of different stuff there. They've got like a two-headed turtle that you can look at. And it's really weird, but it is awesome.
So, I'm sorry, pardon me. Uranus has two turtle heads poking out?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Oh my gosh.
She was dead serious though. That was not a plant. She called in and she was like, you know what? Uranus actually has a lot to offer.
I get it. There are a lot of people who are passionate about Uranus.
Oh my gosh. Uranus.
Yeah, you clearly said that. I feel like the vibe as I'm watching that, like you can't really see Casey's face, and it's just like I don't want to participate in this kind of vibe. But it's so childish that you can't not laugh at some point. So that's one of the more like if I had to say what, like someone said, what do you think your ideal radio show looked like? That is a clip that I would send. Not only is it a funny conversation that we're laughing at, like you had mentioned previously about something else, it's a local story for us in St. Louis with Uranus, but that was a TikTok that went mad viral. Way more like people learned about Uranus, Missouri being a thing from that TikTok probably than any map on earth. Yeah. But that was fun. Those were fun moments where we can show just how fun it can be to incorporate all this stuff and be fun and be local and be on the air and be entertaining and be relatable, because nobody could say there's a lot to do in Uranus with a straight face. Mm-hmm. Or what was Casey's line? You're saying there's a lot of places to eat out in Uranus.
Yeah.
At this point, if you are not smiling, I'm sorry that we have devolved into something you're no longer enjoying. Lighten up. But I think that's the end of the content dump for this episode. I've been trying as we go through some of these to stay on the theme of things that we learned during our time, not only in St. Louis twice, but in Chicago, our time as a team, our time as two people managing a project a product that was highly monetized by someone that wasn't us, companies who dictated a lot of what we did. And what is our advice moving forward? What can we share? What kind of tips would we give to the next generation of people who see what we've done or heard, what we were doing when we were in Chicago? We relived a lot of those moments with Alabama, and I remember just randomly going, "Are people doing this stuff anymore?" And I remember hearing from people we worked with, and they were like, "Not really," And then there were some that said, "Hey, thanks for reminding me about the fun stuff that happened." You know what I mean? It's rare that people are able to take the risks we took because they have those bosses hanging over their heads telling them to mention contests, or you got to hit this time mark, or make sure you play X amount of songs in an hour because that cares. Sorry, that was Blake Shelton. This is my Blake
Shake
Shelton
weight.
in person. Yeah, shake weight. See earlier in the episode if you missed it. But I hope you understand what I'm trying to say is that we were trying to cut through and do something else and do something different. And if I had advice that I could lay down, like what is the teachable takeaway for anyone after my 11 years, it's don't put your faith into a company to do anything for you. Do it yourself. When we made Mason and Remy stickers, we paid for them. We paid for them out of our pocket because the company wouldn't. And I know there are still people who have them. We get pictures of them. That thank you notes, stuff that we did that went above and beyond. The company didn't do. We did. We took it upon ourselves. My advice would be don't rely on a company. Trust in yourself. I wish I had trusted myself more. Maybe that's the wrong way to say it. Because I definitely trusted what I saw. Like I was definitely adamant about my vision. But expecting a company to lift you up higher than they can might be an unreasonable expectation. As we hoped that we would just get support, and once they would see what we could do, they would only see that we could do more with help. But that wasn't what the action seemed to be. The action seemed to be, look at what these guys can do without any help. What a great thing for our budget. Do more of that on your own. You did it great before. And then they just come to expect you to do that for yourself. Don't expect anyone to help you if you're not vocalizing, verbalizing that you need help or showing that you need help. Because if you're doing it, just keep doing it. They're only going to get in the way.
Yeah. I'd agree with that. I would say my piece of advice is if you're still on the inside and you're not like syndicated in 1,500 markets or whatever and making millions of dollars like, the top 5 DJs in radio still are. If you're just a regular, you've got a couple maybe stations, you're voice tracking some stuff here and there, I would find a side hustle, and I would find something that you're passionate about with maybe the intention of working in that side hustle full time at some point. I think that both you and I kind of did that, whether we knew what we were doing or not. And that's how we kind of eased into the next phase of our life. So I would say if you're still in, find a side hustle or find something that you can learn while you're still in radio and making that full-time check and having that healthcare. And the other thing I would say is try to be better at discerning what to take personally and what not to take personally. I think that was a huge thing that Bama and I kind of talked about this, but there's a difference between like a creative, constructive criticism note and a personal attack. And I think that a lot of the things that started big arguments were me or Bama, or I don't want to speak for you, but maybe you as well, taking things personally. When we're all the end goal for all of us is the same. We want the views, we want the likes, we want the reach, we want the ratings, money, whatever. It's just how the mode of transportation to get there might look different in each person on the team's mind, and that's okay. And it shouldn't result in loud shouts and fights and arguments and things like that. So those are probably the two that I would say. And I would also say to anybody who is getting out, who has just been released, who is thinking about getting out, reach out to us. Like, reach out to Mason or I. Totally anonymous. Like, would never spill any secrets or I'm not on the inside anymore. I don't give a shit. I want to help at this point. I want to make sure that whatever transition you're thinking about in the future can go smoothly. And I don't know if I can offer any like peace of mind, but I know that whenever we were on the inside, it was very hard to think about what a life without radio would be like. But it's there and it exists. And if you just want to talk, let us know.
I definitely think when you are in that position we were in, where you are watching trends, what people are talking about, what is happening in the news, what is happening in music, what is happening in people's lives, you are running at 100 miles an hour to keep up with everything. And you cannot have blinders. You feel like you disconnect and you miss something because you can and will. And then if you go on the air the next day not talking about that, you are an idiot and you are out of touch and you are not doing your job. And since that has ended, I know of nothing, and it's great. I can get so much done that I care about, not having to watch shows or things I don't have any investment in. You know what's kind of funny is I remember in the beginning of our time in St. Louis, I'm not saying that we invented live tweeting during country shows or whatever, but we would do that, and then it became an obligation, and then it became not fun. Because we were just kind of making fun of the experience, like we were sitting on the couch with our friends, like we would have just been talking smack and making jokes to one another. But then it became, you're now in Chicago, you're a top player, and you're criticizing an artist you're going to talk to next week. You know, it changes. It's different. You don't have the freedom to be you anymore. Now you're operating within that, you know, you got to play the game, and the game's just lame, not fun. I'd much rather ask about cicadas and play with a shake weight than you know, respect the performance. Just jam your song and get your check, my guy. You know, do what you got to do. You don't need me. Let me do the other side of things. That's something that I remember thinking about a lot. Is like we should be allowed to be fools in these moments. It shouldn't be so serious. It shouldn't be about that. But there's a lot of those notes that we can look back and say, here's, I don't know if we would have done it any different, even with this advice that we're giving. Like, would we have listened? Probably not. We were young and dumb and definitely knew better than anybody who had had any experience, right? But it's good to look back in retrospect and kind of go, here's the advice that I would give to the next generation of people who I'm sure are looking at these two old white guys and going, you didn't do nothing. But we were there too when we looked at those old white guys and we're like, you ain't doing nothing. And now here we are just 10, 11, 14 short years later, looking at it all in the past and talking about how little it mattered in the big picture of not only our lives, but whatever that thing was that we thought we were doing, that we thought we were making an impact on. It's fair to say that a lot of those people who worked hard with us every day and every night are no longer thinking about that. Are no longer thinking about us.
Yep.
Yeah. So those would be some of the biggest lessons learned. I think we should wrap up. I know we've had a lot to talk about in all of these episodes. Greatly appreciate everybody checking it out. And if you've made it this far and haven't yet, you know, click and stay tuned. That subscribe thing and likes really help us out. We are getting closer to this actually being something. We're just kind of talking. And I don't know if we have like a real goal here other than just us doing this, to share our side and to feel better about the lives we've lived for the last 14 years. And to reconnect with I've always enjoyed chatting with you no matter the topic. And if we're able to lament about some of the things that we went through, and hopefully it you know, raises some notifications for some folks to maybe feel better, like Alabama was here years later, looking back going, we all understand now where we were. Hopefully it helps put some closure on some of those things, but also hopefully it can help to put some good ideas into the heads of some folks who may be walking into some of the things that we have experienced. We'll wrap this episode up. Appreciate you, Remy. Always great to chat with you. I think next time we're going to catch up with some of the other players on the show, which were mostly interns, because we did not have budgets. We had no money, and the only thing we could give you was credit.
Yeah.
But there were some very integral parts of the show. Lots of things that involved our interns and maybe producers, other folks that we chatted with regularly during our time. That's coming up in the next episode. We'll check in with the interns and more from the Mason and Remy past, let's call it. I'll wrap it. Thank you for watching. Talk to you next time.
Sounds good.
Good.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.